Kia ora koutou, welcome along everybody to our Waipapa Papanui-Innes-Central Community Development Update. Just a heads up before we start, this meeting is being live streamed, so just be aware of that when you are speaking. We'll start with our karakia, so I'll ask everybody to stand. He tio, Right, first item on the agenda is apologies. Got an apology from Victoria and an apology from Emma for lateness. So we have a mover and a seconder for those. Nita and Simon. Put that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
It's carried. I haven't been told of any declarations, but if something comes up, then do let us know. Confirmation of previous minutes. I'm happy to move them. We have a seconder. Ali, put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
It's carried. It takes us to our public forum. We've got Elsha here to speak to us today, reporting back on her travels, which we contributed to. Welcome, Elsha.
Hello.
Hey.
I travelled in the beginning of June with my korfball team from Korfball Canterbury, which is a development korfball team, and we were all aged around like my age in year 10 and 11 and some in year 12, and we went to Australia to compete in their national tournament, and we played against all of their adult teams, which was cool because we were like younger and we versed all of the adult teams, and we played for 2 days, which was our tournament, and played 3 games each day, and we ended up coming third, which we felt very proud of ourselves for. And we had a great time, and it was a really cool experience, and I learned a lot from it.
Great.
Cool. Good.
What's up next for you? Is there any sort of other teams you're trialing for?
For korfball,
Yeah.
I do have a school team that I play for in the summer, it's like a summer sport. So and I also have a winter tournament that I'm in right now, which is with like other students from like uni students mostly, playing on Sundays in a team for a winter tournament.
Great. Cool. Any other questions from board members?
Well done.
No,
Thank you very much. I'm really appreciative for the help and support. Thank you.
No, we're
Thanks
happy to
for coming
support
in.
you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank
Appreciate it. Great, and we'll now move on to our deputations. We've got Trina. Yeah, Trina's going to speak to us on item 8, which is the Ferry Road Active Transport Improvements. On Trina.
Kia ora koutou.
You've got 10 minutes and
10 minutes
for question.
Nice and easy. Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much to the chair, councillors, and members for allowing us the opportunity to speak. As indicated, I am from 46 Ryan Street, so I'm part of Ryan Street, which is part of the road revitalisation. And I guess the reason I'm here today is just to speak about these Ryan Street and its uniqueness in terms of it is, as you can appreciate, it's a dead-end street. It's been intensified at quite a level. There's about another 24 houses in about the last few years, and these are old bungalows, so they are being replaced. So there's a lot of traffic pressure alongside the school. So there's a lot more pressure coming into and out of that street. So I guess when we saw the proposal, we thought, great, pedestrian crossings are brilliant for the area. We're not complaining about those. We're also not complaining about speed bumps. But what I would like to raise is I think the location of the actual pedestrian crossing to Ryan Street is actually unsafe. And thank you to the councillors for giving me the opportunity to, I guess, reply to some of the concerns that I'd raised. In terms of those, I'd just like to run through, I guess, what I'd put in the email that I sent back. As someone trying to actually leave Ryan Street and probably turn more towards Morehouse, I just want to know that, first of all, I can actually see a person that's actually crossing the road. This is quite a tight turn onto that, which would be onto where the person's turning. So they need to be able to see me. I need to be able to see them. The typical thing when you're actually turning out of a street is to look down the road. This is probably most complicated during heavy traffic, particularly coming from Morehouse towards the traffic lights. So we get it back all the way up along Ferry Road. So visibility is pretty low. It's also, I guess, the cars turning into Ryan Street don't necessarily, or sorry, turning out of Ryan Street don't necessarily know that you can use the flush median. And so people don't get it. They tend to pull in, panic, whatever. So they're not using that median. They are turning directly out and onto the road. So anything that kind of facilitates that happening. Yeah, I think those were kind of the main points I wanted to make. It's probably easier to just answer any questions.
Yeah, sure. Pauline.
Yes, thanks, Trina. Just clarifying, when you said coming out of Ryan, turning towards Morehouse,
Yes.
what did you, towards Morehouse? Is it?
No, it's the other way around. This is Morehouse, yeah.
So it's doing the right hand.
Yeah.
Right hand turn,
Ah,
yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Right, I was a bit confused by that. Thank you.
We'll get some answers to your questions from our transport engineers. They'll be forwarded on.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks again.
Just one quick question for me. There's obviously access to the school from the end of Ryan Street,
Yes.
but I saw in a few submissions that people were saying students don't really come out that way and head down Ryan. Is that your
We
experience?
don't get a lot of students walking down that way. So there's not a lot of students go past our house and down and out that street. The teachers tend to use it for a car park down that way. But yeah, we certainly don't see too many students wander down the street.
Any more questions? No? Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to us and to submit.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that report shortly.
Thank you.
All right, we've got Diane here to speak to us about item 7, the Momorangi Reserve Play Space renewal. Welcome along, Diane.
Well, my name's Diane. I've lived in Momorangi Crescent for a number of years now, and my youngest is 6, so would benefit from the upgrade of the park that's proposed. One of the questions that I don't think was answered in the report that I read was under what conditions the park had been assessed by staff in, because as you could see in the report, there was a number of people that highlighted that access to the park and the ground conditions were quite an issue to be able to use the park. So I'd be interested to know under what conditions the park had been assessed in and for you guys to talk about that. Yeah, really access is the main issue to the park. On the park plan, I noted that it's been allowed access from one side, but there's actually 2 access points to the park, and that's not been noted on the plan. So if you're coming from Main North Road, there's an access point just past the first trees, and so that hasn't been noted on the plan, or there's not a route to the park, to the playground section of the park. There's only access from if you're coming down Momorangi Crescent on the corner. Yeah, access generally to the park has been an issue because the grass is generally quite long and overgrown onto the footpath and into the gutter. So access to the park is an issue. I think the park services quite a range of people in our street. You've got private houses, you've got private rentals, you've got council housing, you've got, I gather, government housing as well as a state integrated boarding school backing onto the street, and potentially emergency housing around the street with a couple of motels around the corners as well. So there's quite a range. It would, people that might interact with the park in general. So access is a big thing. I noted that there was access to a picnic table, accessible access, but what does accessibility look like then to the rest of the playground if parents who had the mobility issues wanted to supervise their children in the playground? So in some ways, accessibility to a picnic table feels like more like a token gesture rather than looking at access in general to, even if I had the mobility issues, because I have, what would my access then to the playground look like for my children? And yeah, so I really just want, I think in the report that it summarised that there was at least 3 of us that highlighted that access was a real issue. And I don't think the summary of what the staff allowed noted, a lot of us said you need to allow 2 access points to the playground for the park. So that's just what I want to highlight there. Because the ground conditions, like my son can't ride a bike through it at the moment, so yeah.
Great. Any questions, Ellie?
I just wanted to clarify, I think it's probably just me. You said there are 2 access points showing on the information that, or the map.
Yes.
But there are 2 there.
Yes.
So are you suggesting that one's being removed, or that's what you're?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There's no path shown. There's the 2 original access points aren't shown as access points.
Right.
One's been shown that there'll be a path to an accessible picnic table,
Right.
but the other access point isn't noted on there.
Right. So
But it would be
a mistake, or it could be intentionally being removed. We need to know that. Okay, that's good.
well, the summary said additional access point was noted by 3 submissions, and the staff reply to that was that the accessible path is sufficient. The one accessible path is sufficient.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, great.
Simon, you've got a question?
Yeah, good day. Thank
Hi.
you for coming in. Appreciate you making the time to come and speak to us. Yeah, we'll discuss this shortly. Just checking if you've noticed beyond the trimming of the grass along the footpath that you had mentioned to me, if you've noticed any other maintenance in the park since we had a conversation a month or so back.
No. The grass, finally, after about 4 years of me having sent submissions to the council about the overgrown grass on just the footpath, that was removed just after the proposal went out.
Yeah.
Because it was overgrown about 30 centimetres onto the footpath, so it was quite narrow. No, just probably maybe the grass has been mown once, but it's generally quite long, so that kind of adds to the bogginess of the park in general.
Thank you. And just for board members, in our folder, there's some additional info. There's some photos of the park, which just sort of show the state of it as well. Be worth having a look at when we get to that item.
Where is that, Simon? Sorry?
In the hub, there's a additional info document alongside the agenda. It just shows the state of the ground. I had a look past yesterday just to check on the fence as well for any progress on that, and it's clearly pretty boggy at the moment.
The bogginess will be contributing to the grass growth as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And just one thing from me, Diane, just to clarify, when you're talking about the existing access points, you're just talking about, there's no paths there at the moment.
No.
Just where there's gaps in the fence for people to access the reserve.
Yes.
There's 2 of them. One around the corner.
Yes. Yep.
Cool. No other questions? Right. Well, yeah, we'll be considering that report shortly. Staff will be able to answer any questions we have and that sort of thing. So if you want to stick around, you can. But yeah, thanks for coming along, taking the time. I appreciate it. Next up, we have Jim Harris, who's also going to speak on the Mamarangi Reserve. Jim is from St Beans. Welcome along.
Kia ora. Thanks for having me. I've been teaching at St Beans for about 2.5 years as a multi-materials technology teacher. I noticed the Mamarangi Reserve seemed tired, and so I went to the council a 1.5 years ago and said as my senior students are always looking for projects that can be real world and give them an opportunity to find clients and do something very constructive, and also to give back to the community. And they said, it so happens that we are refurbishing those areas and we'd love to give back to the community. I've got a senior student who's designing a picnic table. He has Pacifica heritage. We're constructing that table in the shape of an ocean-going waka. And we understand the seriousness of the construction and load bearing and all the rest of it. And I'm sure that council engineers will keep us honest as well, but we'd love the opportunity to continue to design and construct that table.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great. We've got a copy of the design and it looks amazing. So thanks for your efforts and students' efforts. Any questions for Jim?
Anything else, or just the table?
We have capacity to assist with other aspects if there's budget for it. Access across ground, we've got
Swale.
yeah, swale sort of thing. So I'd say that the park is a bog site in the first place, but we'd be happy to engage if it just takes man hours and drainage for pathways to access it. But
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome, because I was thinking too, like some of this playground equipment needs assembling and building, and even if the people wanted to go down and watch, I mean, that sort of thing could be quite helpful to you as well. If we could just hook up the.
yeah, 100%. Like actual equipment, the safety guidelines and the NZ and Australian standards and all that sort of thing. And I don't think we want to get into trying to compete with having to meet or get our own.
No, wasn't
applied to something.
If you work with our council teams, there could be opportunity just for observation, or I don't know, even on the small things, but just to involve you.
Yeah, 100%.
Is probably the really key thing, and take ownership.
Yeah, obviously you've got the connections with the project team.
Yes.
So
yeah, and local primary schools as well. If they had students who wanted to get some of their designs into some play areas, then we'd be happy to be facilitating their designs. And so on.
That's great, because we've got Regency Reserve and Norrie Park.
Yeah.
Also coming up.
Yeah, we've discussed that a little bit as well, but that's another cab off the rank in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ali, you've got a question?
Yeah, I just had a question around the table. Is the table wood?
The frame is steel, and that's been we've dealt with an engineering firm, Slade Engineering, in the bending of those members, and then we would like to put a hardwood seats and tabletop surface. We've spent a bit on the steel, so we're hoping that the council would, or somebody would come together for the actual timber that could go on there.
Using local wood, using trees.
Yeah, well, local wood, local trees, in a sustainable way. Yeah, I mean, I can access arborists. There's health-based building products who do sustainable removal of beech up near Reefton.
I've just had 23 come out of Shirley, so maybe there's some more deal for us.
If we've got a kiln that can dry it in a couple of months, yes. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
excellent.
Great. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for the time and effort you and
Kia ora.
Mr. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim, that is all the deputations. We don't have any petitions, but we are going to rejig the order of the agenda a wee bit, because we've got staff who need to head off. So we're going to jump now to items 12 and 13, which is our Strengthening Communities Fund. Hopefully there shouldn't be too many questions, because we've
Thank you, Chair, and Strengthening Communities for 2025-26 for consideration. There are a couple of questions which we answered a month ago, and take it as read, but welcome any questions.
Any more questions for staff? Ellie?
Just one, I know that I think I've raised this before, Tree. I seem to recall several years ago that we were a little bit tighter on using money for salaries, or for paying of staff, or for insurances and things like that. Have we loosened things up a little in the last few years? The answer may be no, or maybe just imagining it. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thanks. Yeah.
Great. Any further questions? I'm happy to move the staff recommendation. Jake?
Yeah.
Was there any debate on that? Okay, we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? That is carried.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I think the ease of that showed what great reports you guys have done, so thank you for that. And item 13, the board project finding. Any questions on that one? Right, was there anything you wanted to add to the report? Okay,
That's it.
Sunita, you're moving? Yep, do we have a seconder? Simon? Debate? No, we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? That is carried.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much for your time
Thank you, Board.
on that.
Thank you.
Right, we'll now jump back to item 7, which is the Momorangi Reserve Place Space Renewal Concept Plan. Got Barbara here, welcome along.
Kia ora.
Do you have anything to add to the report?
I can probably respond to the questions that came up
that'd be
earlier.
Great.
So I agree, I could have probably been a bit clearer in the report, so apologies for that. There were initially, we did look at creating 2 paths. So there are the 2 access points, but they're pretty much just openings in the fence line along the park. So when we do, and that's probably the council lingo versus what the community understands. So I apologize, it's sometimes a little bit hard to stay away from these terms, but so when we do a play space renewal, we're looking at the play space and it's not so much a park renewal. So we have to, the way it's funded, there is a certain amount that we can and cannot do under that funding and the rules for that, which was part of the reason why, while we looked at it, including the 2 paths, first of all, it would be adding a new asset rather than renewing one. We could get away with 1 path because that is something that we've been doing citywide for new place for renewing play spaces, that we actually account for having at least 1 accessible path into the playground, and we usually also now include a picnic table so that actually caregivers can sit down and for families to have a meal together at our play spaces. So that's why there is 1 path included. The second one, I would have to talk to our planners whether we have additional funding at this point. I can't justify including it. Plus the other thing, which probably wasn't clear enough from the report, this project is actually looking at 3 play spaces being Regency Reserve, Nori Park and Momorangi Reserve. So we looked at how we can actually split the budget to make it fair across all play spaces. So with Regency and Nori, we haven't yet started early engagement. I'm planning to start that in the next couple of months. But there is conversations about whether we actually create different play elements at each of them or whether we're actually merging them together because they're only 200 meters away from each other. But ultimately, right now we have about 105 is the cost estimate for Momorangi at the moment. But if I actually add some contingency, as you said, it's a really wet reserve. If we actually want to include a bit more drainage and just keep a bit of a buffer in case we come across any issues during construction. So that would put about 115 aside. That leaves roughly 75K for each of the other 2 sites, which is not very much to go by. So it's about balancing what we do in each of the reserves to create good outcomes. And that was part of the decision why we stuck to what we have at the moment. And we are creating the access path from one side of the reserve, which doesn't mean that there isn't access through the other opening in the fence. It just won't be access right onto the play space. But given that it's a rather small reserve, it seemed reasonable to have the one main path coming in from the side. But I understand that if you actually want to have your kids kind of going around on a bike, that's not really doable. But to be fair, it's not possible at the moment either. So we're already trying to improve it a little bit. Is there something else? I went to the site the first time probably around Christmas time, and I've been back there at least 6 times since. So I've actually been back last week, so I know that it's really boggy. And I think with bringing the play equipment together into one space and actually having one big softball area, we're going to put Novapol drainage in and trying to actually take some of that muddiness away from the play space, but I guess the surrounding park still is subject to that in future.
Great, thanks for addressing those, Pauline.
Thank you. Just clarification on the drainage. I personally think that would be quite an important thing to do. So you're saying that you could investigate it, you may be able to mitigate it, but it may take some budget from the other 2, or it may not. It depends.
That's why I'm still working with the contingency on this one. I mean, there is only a few limited things at this point that we can do without creating a huge additional cost. But the other thing is that there is the flood area that's also in the corner of the park. So usually what we do, we add Novacol drains and then add a sunk pit somewhere. But given the place is already really wet, there is not that much that we can do. So what we can do is go down a little bit deeper, create a bit more of a gravel surface underneath the soft wall to give it a little bit more space to drain. But otherwise, the site is just really restrictive of what we can do on the small budget that we have.
So currently that little bit of work is not in the plan.
It is included. So this is on a concept level. So all of that design happens in the detailed design, and I am accounting for having the Novacol drain included. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Ellie and then Simon.
I'm always surprised not to see sunshade on these. You know, we have a huge problem with skin cancer and kids are taught this. So why do we not look at that when we're doing these renewals?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Sorry, the renewal. So when we do these renewals, usually it's under a like for like. So as I said before, so our planners have already started to integrate that accessible path and the picnic table. But because there isn't shade at the moment, it's really hard for us to introduce like a new asset, a new shade structure.
So how could you do this?
We would need to get additional funding from that, and that would have to come out of the Community Parks New Development Asset Fund, I think it is.
So do you investigate that?
I usually try to talk to our planners. No, I'm not trying. I am talking to them, and we're trying to find funding, but there's only so much to go around. So in this particular case, because there are a few trees in the park, we're trying to make use of that natural shade. So the picnic table, for that reason, is actually further at the back.
The play,
but it doesn't.
Stuff doesn't have anything.
No, it doesn't help with that.
You've answered my question. I think that's
I'm happy to investigate it, but again, it's also a matter of just balancing the funds. So I can go back to our planner and check whether we.
Do you look at partnerships between construction companies or getting sponsorship for things like that? Is that anything you ever look at?
I haven't in the past.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thanks.
Simon.
Thanks very much for the report. Just to make sure it's clear for the record, so we have 2 access points to the park at the moment in terms of gaps in the fencing.
Yes.
Cable fencing. What's proposed is you're not proposing to do anything. We're not taking away the one of those that doesn't have a path. We're adding a path from the other one. And almost all the play equipment is on soft fall. I think it looks like there might be maybe a climbing structure or something that could be on grass in the sort of the bottom right corner.
It's all on soft fall. What you see at the bottom right corner is actually nature play. So we'll be using some logs actually from Hagley Park that we're going to place in there, and some stepping logs within the garden bed.
So it's garden as opposed to grass?
Yeah.
Right. Cool. No, thank you.
Again, that's supposed to help with the problem of wetness in the park.
Yes. Yeah, very good.
Just quickly, if we as a board wanted to look at getting that extra path, is that something we could push through, being done through another budget as a separate project?
It doesn't have to be a separate project. If funds can be allocated, then we can deliver it as part of this. It would only get more expensive if we do it separately. So yeah.
Okay. I'm just wary of taking more
time
and more money out of this budget that's already going to be stretched for those other 2 renewals.
we have our DRE.
Yeah, that's true. What sort of cost would it be for that? I mean, it's only a short distance, that one, isn't it, from the footpath?
The path itself is probably only around 2,000, but it means that it pushes out the softball area and requires some more edging work. So I'm not 100% sure, 2.5 to 3, I'd say. It's not massive amounts we're talking about. It's just in the grand scheme of things, that's where it starts to add up.
Of course.
If the other entrance is right opposite the where this entrance is? Where is the other entrance? You said there is a.
I've actually, it's actually quite good. Diane pointed that out because I've just noticed that I'm not sure whether it's correctly noted in the drawing, but there are two bollards that are very close together at the left corner of the garden bed. I personally think it's off to the left besides the garden bed from actually having been to the site again a few days. Oh, sorry. No, at the bottom where there is the lighter green color of the concept plan. So there are two bollards close to each other, but around there is where the entrance is. So if we actually do have it wrong in this plan, I will make sure that we definitely keep that access available and not block it with a garden bed.
The other one is coming from here, right?
Yeah.
It's not really a lot of distance. Can we create like a gravel type of thing or not?
2.5 to 3 grand.
Yes.
You reckon?
It's not bad.
Could we, just process wise,
Yeah.
could we maybe approve what's in front of us, but with an extra resolution for staff to kind of come back with because we're only approving a concept design at this stage. The work isn't going to start next week. Maybe staff could bring back a costed variation to the plan to add that second access.
Or board DRF consideration.
Yeah.
So 5, invite staff to come back to the board with a costing for
A
second
second accessible
entrance.
entrance
Yep.
to the play space.
Yeah.
Yep.
And funding options,
Hmm.
one of which could be discretionary, but we don't need to know. So when do you think you could get back? By our next meeting?
Yes.
Right, so by the next meeting.
And that
Yeah, last
wouldn't hold up any of your next step, your detailed design and all that.
It's additional too, it's not.
Probably pushing the layout.
Yes and no. We can make it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it has to come back to the next meeting because you need to make a formal decision on it. It can't come through a memo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
DRF decisions have to come through a meeting.
Okay.
Maybe you could get started on the other renewals.
As I said, the problem is that if we add the path, it kind of pushes the path, the softball, or we'd have to design it differently.
So hang on, if you've
2
got
weeks.
an approximate figure, we're not just put a number in there, say up to,
Hmm.
and then it wouldn't interfere with the time. What do you think?
I would very much appreciate that.
That would be easier for you, wouldn't it?
It will also help because we want to work with St. Bede's College and I want to make sure that we're not delaying this too
Yes.
far, so it's kind of ending up in their holidays.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Got
Yeah.
3-5.
okay. Okay, so just 5 just says that the board approves an additional funding of up to $5,000.
Up to
Oh,
5.
3.5.
3.5. Sorry. 2,000. The mayor's feeling generous today.
Funding of up to 3,500
From the share response fund.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can do that without worrying about it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, lucky we did that one first.
Yeah, there you go.
I would wonder if it might come in
Yeah.
further to the left and perhaps be able to attach to that area without changing the footprint. But
Thank you. I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you can see this, but in the original that we looked at, it was aligning it with where the access point is at the moment, so it would come right in that way. But I can hear what Diane said, that like kids could actually go around. So what we could do is actually bring it around the outside, but then the 2 to 2.5K, like what I initially said, might not actually be it. It might be a little bit more, but for that, we can actually bring it around. It won't be much more. but-
Okay.
maybe a working bee with a front and adjacent.
And that would also help, then we can
That's
keep
right.
doing the design for what we already have.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've got the approved
That's
extra
really
funding of up to $3,500 from the board's discretionary response fund for a second accessible entrance to this play space. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm happy to move this. I'm in seconding it. debate.
Oh, sorry, yeah, there was just one thing that, did we not want to draw attention to the lack of maintenance? Could we somehow flag this to the
I
park?
think
Range?
usually think that would be addressed.
Apologies that again, that may have not been clear in the report, but I'm quite aware of it. I have no ability to really influence the maintenance schedule, but I have passed your feedback on.
But
And we're also looking,
we have.
yeah,
This is the resolution I wanted to put in there, that we let the park ranger teams know that there's a maintenance issue here. So
I have got a
noting-
detail in for the fence
You will
already.
formalise it just as a
Yeah.
noting provision, the board is
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
That the maintenance for this area needs to be revved up. Contact the parks
So
team.
back on the sunshade too, please. That would be helpful.
Sorry, what was that, Ali?
Could we get some information back about the sun shading, whether there is budget somewhere that could be found for it, or whether a partnership could be looked at with a local?
So can we contact the parks rangers to advise them for the sector? What do you call them?
The appropriate
Park sector.
staff.
Well, it's the rangers really want to hook in and alert to this space so that they've got it on their radar.
the mowing and regular maintenance is more the PGMO. And if the bollards are broken or something like that, that's usually the park rangers.
Yes.
I've already spoken to the team leader for the park rangers, and we're looking at fixing those bollards that are.
Well, this will
So
help you
park
with what
staff
you
can-
think.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that's great.
And Ali's bit about the sunshade.
Just if we could have some feedback on whether there is funding available or a way to secure funding for,
Was it costing?
I think whatever the cost is, we'll probably be told there's no money there, so that's fine.
Got money with the special needs.
Yeah.
Or St. Bede's might be. Oh. We won.
got a pool, we just swim in cash all the time.
Would you like the response on the sunshade in email memo or report form?
Whatever's cheapest.
I did like
Yeah.
A low key.
Look,
Doesn't mean just an email.
That's great.
Happy with that, Ali?
Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Cool, so I've moved it, Simon seconded it, any debate? I'd just like to say I'm really pleased to see this finally get to us. It's obviously in huge need of an upgrade, and it is quite well used, as we've heard from the so thanks for your work on this, Barbara,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
thank you for your time.
So I'll put that motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
That is carried.
Awesome. New park.
Item 8, Ferry Road, sport improvements. Barry and Kieran and Tom. Welcome along.
Good afternoon. I've got two members of my team with me this afternoon. Kieran, who's the engagement advisor, Tom, who's a senior traffic engineer. Firstly, I apologise to Councillor McLennan. I don't work Thursdays or Fridays, despite the fact that you've seen it. And I didn't see your email until 5 minutes ago.
I only just see to them, so my apologies needed. Yeah.
Now, last week, while the agenda was being set, there was some discussion around alternatives and also what a Swedish table was. So Tom's going to just quickly go through a couple of slides just to clarify a couple of questions to us. And there was also on Thursday's paper, I think, the issue of those non-slip surfaces arose. Now, those are not traffic calming devices. We're on stream, so I can't say if you're a driver, there are no bother situation, right? Suddenly the traffic light has gone orange, or somebody's on the pedestrian crossing and I must stop, and I'm going too fast and I'm panicking and I hit my brakes, and those surfaces are to try and mitigate that outcome. So they are not, and as staff, we wouldn't recommend them for safety reasons, but Tom will cover some aspects of that.
So what you're saying, sorry, is that that's the difference between them and a speed platform, a speed hump. Speed hump slows you down, the surface just allows you to stop slightly faster if you need to stop.
Correct.
Both are a safety mechanism though, right?
Yes, but not a traffic.
Calming.
The main issue is the calming aspect.
So I've got a table and a couple of slides.
Yeah, okay.
Just before I get to that, I thought it's been some time. Appreciate that. So I thought I'd just quickly run through why we're doing this. So the key emphasis of this project is improving access, people who cycle, improving access to transport, enhancing safety, and improving access to those bus stops, and reducing car dependence for short trips. So the recommendation in the staff report is for more pedestrian refuge crossings with speed humps on approaches, and installing associated line marking and no stopping restrictions around them, but also looking at doing some improvements side road infrastructure. So quickly, before we get into the interesting stuff, when we're given a project that's looking at improving accessibility, we've got some guidelines from the Transport Agency, but also from staff knowledge and the wider technical realm that we look through. And essentially, this is trying to tell us or guide us whether we should be considering a priority crossing. And so a priority crossing is like a signals or a zebra crossing where the pedestrian has a priority, so all vehicles must stop, or a non-priority crossing, which is like a pedestrian refuge island where the vehicles still have priority, but you're giving some improving access for people who walk. What we considered, first of all, for the ferry road is looking at a budget, our scope, all of that sort of stuff, that constraint informs the project. When we initially went out to safety audit, we're thinking of either having a zebra crossing or the pedestrian refuge islands. One of the real big challenges we would have with a zebra crossing is we've got such a high traffic volume, but we've also got such a high pedestrian demand. And so there's quite a big concern in the team that if you have a zebra crossing, you're going to create more delays for those general vehicles, because every time there's someone trying to cross the road, that vehicle must stop on both sides while the vehicle crosses the whole length of the road. So that is quite a big consideration. So that was part of why there's more of a preference and recommendation for refuge crossings where we're improving that access. Vehicles still have priority. Yes, we are recommending speed humps, and I'll get to that in a second. And that's really just because the history research shows us that that's necessary to improve that safety. Skip them. So unfortunately, this is quite big. What this table is we've got 3 columns. The one on the left is looking at speed hump. The one in the middle is platforms, and the one on the right is no traffic calming. For this instance, the one on the right, we could also classify high friction surfacing in there as well. So the key difference between, say, a platform or a speed hump and something like high friction surfacing is, for crossings, the goal is to reduce the vehicle speed on the approach to the crossings. So ferry roads, 50k environment. The research shows us that the most appropriate speed for a vehicle to be approaching that crossing is around 30 kilometres, and the reason for that is to do with the risk of death or serious injury. And so the slower the speed, the lower that risk is. And so that's why on the approaches you'll see speed bumps. Another way of doing that is platform. The key difference between a speed bump and a platform is, depending on the design of the platform, you'll hear the term Swedish tables or Swedish platforms. They can be slightly more forgiving for public transport users, and that's because on your approach it's still quite sharp, but then on your departure it's more shallow, and so that gives a nicer ride for bus visitors. In some situations where you might have a priority crossing, like a signalised intersection, that's where you consider potentially having high friction surfacing. One of the key sort of caveats is to put in high friction surfacing, you've actually got to consider the road and the road condition, traffic volume, and all of that sort of engineering stuff. The other challenge is you want to put it more in a location where there's not that high pedestrian demand. So you want to put it more in a location where what Claire was trying to say is the oh darn moment or something else where something as unexpected is happening. And so you're having to slow down quite rapidly in a situation where you're not expecting something to occur. So really, because it's a high friction surfacing, it's giving you more friction so you can slow down or you can stop at a more quicker and appropriate speed. In terms of safety outcomes, a speed hump or platform have a very comparable outcome for safety. And so that's why there's that staff recommendation. With that staff recommendation, I'll acknowledge, as we found out through the consultation feedback, is then it's not to everyone's liking. Once again, I acknowledge we know what we think we technically need to do to be able to deliver the project. We don't necessarily know the political situation or the community's desires, and that's why it's up to our elected members to make the final call.
Were you going to show a Swedish table?
Right?
Were you going to? Have you got a picture of a Swedish table?
Next slide, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so a Swedish table you can use in a couple of instances. You can either use it on a priority crossing, like if you've got a zebra crossing like here, or you can use it on the approaches. For the ferry road context, if we're considering refuge islands, you'd use it on the approaches. One of the big challenges with them is, as you can see there, quite a bit bigger than a road hump. So that means they take quite a bit more room, and that has an impact on both on-street parking, also drainage, and your physical construction and everything else. That then has a consequence on both budget, but also the permanence of that solution or its longevity.
Before we do the questions, there's one other point. Did you have something else you were saying?
I was just going to quickly have a chat about Ryan Street, but if there's something else.
I just wanted to reinforce the discussion around those speed bumps. We didn't put that forward because as staff, we create a problem for ourselves. If we end up in front of the coroner would say to us, why did you suggest to elected members that they should have no speed bumps? It's not safe. You know it's not safe. And that's why we are not recommending it. You, as elected members, are entitled to override that. And when the safety audit comes in, your overriding decision will be the thing that finally says, well, this was the way the outcome came to be. But that makes it clear why, as staff, we are not putting it in front of you.
There's no conspiracy is what you're saying.
No, it's not that. What I've been here as a resident, right? Whether I like or dislike speed humps is my personal opinion.
Not your professional one.
Well, I'm still a traffic. I'm a project manager with a driver's license. I'm not a traffic engineer. Right? But all of these studies that technical staff have put in front of me, and all of the discussions we've had, and the NZTA things, all indicate that as a team, we should not be recommending no bumps. And that's really what it boils down to.
Sure.
So it's not whether we collectively are on a bump crusade. Our goal was to create a safer environment for people to cross that road.
Sure.
Right, we'll go to.
was just going to talk about Ryan Street.
Sorry.
So very quickly, when this project was first initiated before my time, so about 2 or 3 years ago, the proposal was for this refuge island crossing here to be on the right side of Ryan Street. When this project was recommenced mid last year, we were asked to look at putting it on the left-hand side. And the reason for locating it on the left-hand side is it means we can have a slightly bigger pedestrian refuge crossing. And there was concern at that time if you've got younger people walking up Ryan Street to get to the school and that, it might be more desirable. So that's why the proposal you see, the recommendation that's in front of you, has it there. In terms of access and intervisibility, that's why we've got some recommendations that we're looking at our side road treatments, putting in giveaways to remind people they need to slow down on approaches and check to make sure it's safe before they go through. This has been for a safety audit, and any sort of issues have been addressed for that process. Potentially, you could look at moving it a little bit. One of the challenges with fitting in stuff on the road, refuge crossings on the road, is how you fit stuff in, things in and around driveways in there.
Pauline's got a question.
Yeah, so are you saying that, just as long as I've got this right, if it was to go back to your other idea of putting it on the right-hand side of Ryan Street, are you saying that it would be a little bit too small to cope with the number of children particularly wanting to use it?
So
or would it be okay?
I suppose it's subjective. We could still potentially fit it on the right-hand side to do the minimum requirements in terms of our design process. Putting it on the left-hand side means we could make it a bit wider, so if put 2 or 3 people trying to cross at the same time.
I understand that, but I'm talking about if we wanted to say move it to the right. And the other thing is that where it is now on the left, is it impossible to turn right out of Ryan Street now with that?
So we've done the vehicle tracking, so it's still fine to turn in and out, I suppose. Yes, you can. One of the concerns is potentially, as I understand, is because you're in quite a congested environment, and that is, it can be quite hard to see sometimes, and that's when people can take risks. I suppose that's why speed humps in there could be a good idea as well.
So you're saying that just to be clear, with the refuge there on the left, someone's coming out of Ryan Street in a vehicle, they can turn right.
Yes, and you can get in there.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think they could. I thought you had a median strip blocking it, but
no, but
yeah, so it's just
waiting in the middle.
So it's just a painted.
It is. Right.
It's just visibility and people, taking risks.
Because the danger there is, I suppose, with the refuge there now, people, if they did take a risk, they platform or not, they could go a bit fast and take someone out. Would that actually be a reason why you could put it on the right-hand side?
What I'd possibly recommend doing is, if you want staff to consider those options, just put it either through the recommendations, and then we can report back that if we get it here, this is the tracking, this is how it could all fit, and then so
we wouldn't be able to bring that back until next year, because we won't be able to make the next meeting.
So we could actually ask you to bring back more information on the option of putting it on the right-hand side. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so I suppose potentially, I'm aware this project's been around for a while. So what I'd possibly do is, whatever your decision is, you could say this is provisional to allow staff to get on with the detailed design, but then you want, for this particular crossing, it to be investigated, the option of either.
Yes.
Okay.
So it would give you guys the decision in a sense.
Yeah, so you're giving us you're giving us the go ahead to continue with the detailed design.
Right.
So we're not slowing things, so we're still maintaining momentum. But then for this particular thing, you could have a caveat that you want us to report back, either for a report or a memo or a workshop of these are the 2 locations we've considered.
Yeah. Pros and cons.
Yeah.
So we would delay construction and design of that element.
Understood. Have a question.
Hold on, we'll go. John had his hand up first, then we'll come to you, Kate. So go ahead, John.
Yeah, thanks. I think I've been asked
John.
about.
We can't hear you.
Okay, I wanted to test my sound. One moment.
I'll go now.
Do you read me?
It doesn't look like you're muted. No. Just holding the speakers.
Can you hear me?
He's so confident, as if he's sure he's fixed the problem, and it's still not working.
Yes, I've got you now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hey, I think my questions have been asked and answered anyway. It was going to be about the issues of moving that to the right, because it would have a different effect on some specific properties than what was consulted on in the design plan, right? But I think we've that's something that would be reported back on, yeah?
Yeah, so I think once again, we could report back, if you want us to move it, then Kieran, you can jump in here and be targeted consultation with the impacted properties.
Correct, yeah.
Great, thank you very much. I'll lower my hand.
Jake.
I've had two thoughts, which is we've heard that the number of pupil usage by pupils is less than what perhaps the old Linwood College used to have before the upgrade. So I don't know whether how that's quantified. That's something to consider. The other thought is if you were to place it on the other side, the catchment of pupils may be more, and I suspect it is on that side of Linwood as opposed to the more CBD facing side. There's just a lot less residential, a lot less dense residential. So there may be some pros and cons for pupils other than just the size of the crossing point to consider. And also it's close to the shops as well, the food shops down there. So that's not a question, is it?
No.
It's something to consider, yeah.
That means we don't have to come up
Did
with
you
an
have a
answer.
question?
No.
Ellie.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. Kieran, in the consultation, it's quite clear that people are not keen on these speed bumps to quite a strong level. I think it was 81 against 37 for. And I hear what Clary's saying about giving us advice and things. Could you just explain, I see that this is a main arterial route into town and the number of cars and things like that, so it's very key. What's the reason for these going in? I saw somewhere that it was to do with a high number of issues involving pedestrians or something. I'm not sure of could you just talk us through that?
What do you want me to?
I can have a go and you can chip in. So when we were recommencing this project, we did some pedestrian activity surveys that's showing quite a high number of people trying to cross the road. I suppose one of the big challenges at a high level we've got with Ferry Road is that balance between movement and place. So your movement is your throughput and your demand, or how it functions as a major arterial. And then the places, if you think about the densification and that, is you've got more people trying to move around their local area. If we think then, okay, that's the bigger context. If we then go back to what sort of crossing is appropriate, if you had a priority crossing, your gold standard would be a signalised mid-block crossing. You could also do a pedestrian or zebra crossing. Potentially, they're going to have more of a delay on your traffic coming up based on both our volume.
And is that acceptable and guide NZTA guidance in major arterial route? Would you have signalised pedestrian crossings on a major arterial route?
Yeah, so if you look, that's the gold standard. Unfortunately, I should caveat that that's outside of our project budget, but that's generally what is the gold standard. If you look
sorry, I'm just trying to clarify. Yeah. On a major arterial route.
Yeah, so that's your gold standard, or your best approach would be that signalised intersection where you're giving your pedestrians priority because all your vehicles are need to stop.
Like Morehouse Ave.
Yeah, like Morehouse Ave.
Two of them on Cranford. I think Cranford's a major arterial.
Yeah, let's not talk about Cranford, Carrie. I think at this stage. I noticed too in the executive summary, thank you for that, it says Ferry Road between Wilson's Road and Ensels Road has a poor level of service for pedestrians access, evidenced by a history of crashes involving pedestrians. But the information we've got, I think there was one fatality in 10 years. Yeah. I'm just trying to balance that with the need for this. I'm not entirely understanding.
So completely agree with that. What's quite important to think about is when we're thinking of any sort of crashes, any sort of accidents, is it's a bit like a pyramid. So all you're seeing and all that's reported is the fatality, but under that fatality, there's a lot more minor injuries or near misses, which potentially, because of the busyness of the road over time, that's going to increase, and that could become more fatalities, more serious injuries. And generally, when, as staff, we consider the project objectives, which is around improving safety or accessibility, it's putting on that technical hat and thinking, okay, well, what do we need to do to try and prevent that or make it safer? Unfortunately, with the change in government, we can't look at reducing that physical speed limit, so it's looking at doing those other things.
And you balance that with degrees of reasonableness and things, because you could advise everyone to stay at home and that would cut the death rates on the road immediately, right? But you can't do that, yeah. And just one last question.
Most accidents happen in the home.
Yeah, they do, especially in the bathroom or if you're putting on your pajamas. NZTA guidance is merely guidance, right? I just want to be clear. So if there is something in the guidance that suggests that you do something, you are allowed to either vary it or not do it. Would that, I don't know, I'm asking.
So you're 100% correct. So it's guidance. One of the challenges, particularly as staff, when we try and provide a technical solution is the road safety audit. And so the road safety audit is a formal process. And that then, if that brings up an issue that's either a significant or a serious issue, as staff, we're compelled to respond to that in a way that we think is reasonable to address that issue. This is where things get challenging, because as staff and our technical hats, this is what we have to do. But then we don't necessarily understand the community's views or the community's desires. I acknowledge that ferry roads quite challenging in that there's a massive amount of throughput, you've got a massive amount of people trying to cross. So it's really hard to balance.
Are there other options that you could have looked at, or are speed bumps it?
We could have done the signalised pedestrian crossings.
Right.
Now, that is significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
They were quoted in the paper the other day as 400 to 500,000. Yeah, but that had ducting already in place and things like that. So for this particular location, it's more like $500,000 to $600,000 each. And we were advised by our senior managers that that funding was not available and that we should do the best that we are able to within the allocated budget.
Okay. All right. There were just two things with the Swedish tables as well. The report talks about the Swedish tables not being one thing that you were looking at because of budget, but I note in the presentation we've seen that they're not appropriate for this area. Is it both those things or one or the other?
I'd say they're one and the same. For Swedish tables, say for example, we're looking at this pedestrian crossing here, you'd have to have the tables on the approaches to the crossing. And so that takes up a bit more room. They'll be quite hard to fit in with the location of the driveways. We've got drainage challenges on ferry roads.
So it's design and cost?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we'll go Jake, then Pauline and Simon.
That was actually my question.
Okay, so Pauline.
Yeah, what would your advice be if I was to suggest that we put a speed hump at Barber? Then it's kind of a little bit of a curve when you come to Olivia's, that we use that friction stuff on the road there in case someone did have to stop, and then the following two speed humps go in. So just 3 out of the 4. What would your advice be around that?
That one would fall into the same category as no bumps from us in front of the coroner.
Is there time to get up to a different speed between that crossing and the I mean, what's the difference distance between these refuges in metres approximately?
So I think the whole section's around
800.
700 to 800. So I think you're raising an interesting point. So if you look at one of the other challenges with the road is during peak times, it's quite congested and quite slow.
Anyway.
Outside peak times, it's quite fast.
Is it? Does it get up to 50?
It gets up to 50. So I think from memory, going towards Sumner is the slower direction in the afternoon. And that gets as slow as I think around between 30 and 40. In a city, traffic seems to be a bit more free flowing, but then outside of those peak areas, both sides get up to 50 in both directions.
Okay. Right. So it's about 200 metres between the two.
So, yeah, and I think
between each one. So.
Yeah. And potentially what you could do, it's like I suppose there's a couple of ways you can think of the speed. It's either you treating it at each individual bump, which is, or each individual crossing point, which is, I suppose, what's recommended in the guidance in there, or you could take more of that corridor approach. That's what they're trying to do in the previous iteration when the speed limit was physically lowered to 30, and then you've got the entrance ways on each approach, each sort of intersection coming into the section of Ferry Road to try and reinforce that. One of the challenges with that is now that our speed limit has to stay at 50, is we can look at something that will give you some benefit. It won't give you as much as having sort of your speed humps or your at each crossing.
Yes, because I'm just taking note of some of the submissions that said that they thought that the 4 in a row was going to cause a lot of congestion, probably in that free-flowing time, without necessarily going to a carte blanche, none of them, which I thought it could have been a compromise just to have 3 instead of 4, and particularly if we did move the Ryan Street one a bit further up.
I think
Would that be?
Yeah, the Auckland study that was referred to in the report was over 32, wasn't it? About 30 different locations.
Yeah.
And they found that the impact on travelling times was negligible.
Oh, 2 to 3 seconds you've got in your report, isn't it?
Yeah.
That study looked at the time, it took from a vehicle travelling 50 k's to slow down to 30 k's and accelerate again. For a normal car, there was around 3 seconds per speed hump. For a bus or a larger vehicle, there was about 6 seconds. I suppose considering that, you've got to think about, well, what is the free flow speed along Ferry Road, so the speed that vehicles actually have to speed up and slow down from. And so that's part of it. And like, it's, I suppose, anything to do with slowing vehicles down or speeding them up is
bad for the environment.
I was going to say it depends on who you talk to.
Okay, thank you.
Simon.
Thank you. A couple of things. One, just on the consultation and feedback. I think the report mentions that emergency services were, the information was shared with them. I don't see anything in the submissions. Just want to clarify, was there any discussion or engagement with emergency services around this project?
Yes, so emergency services were engaged with prior to the consultation going live. So our Fire and Emergency New Zealand specifically have been very consistent with their feedback, which is that they are very supportive of the goal to increase safety and reduce crash rates with raised platforms, but they do have an impact on their response times. So they are just wary about the frequency of them, especially if they're multiple placed on a single road corridor. But St John, sorry, just to add to that, St John emergency services like St John's employees are also consistently in favour of the increased safety that these have the outcomes, safety outcomes, especially since it means less call outs for them in the long run, as a quite a blue sky kind of.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen, that's not exactly correct. St John made it very clear in their submission that they were concerned about the damage to the equipment and the ambulances going over these humps. They made that really clear in their submission.
That's a different thing, though.
There is
saying that St John in their submission made a comment about the damage to their equipment by going over bumps.
There's no submission from St John's.
Well, what the hell was I reading then?
I couldn't find it. Couple of other questions, just around the traffic speed through the area at peak hours. I get the impression that the general traffic speed during peak times is likely to be similar to sort of the appropriate speed for travelling over speed humps.
Yeah, that's correct. So in peak times, vehicles are moving a lot slower than out of peak times.
Yeah, okay, fine. And last one, just on Ryan Street, if that crossing was on the other side of the intersection, I'd just wonder about traffic turning right into Ryan Street from the Aldridge Road side, so yeah, city bound, but turning right in, would the traffic island potentially interfere with queuing traffic wanting to turn right into Ryan?
You mean the refuge?
Yeah, the refuge.
Yeah, potentially, like I suppose that is a risk, something to consider, that if you're moving something, are you just shifting that problem on?
Yeah.
Or is it slightly better to address it? From memory, if it was on the right side, it would be between, I can't see the numbers. Yeah, so it'll be sort of in between these two houses here to try and straddle the two driveways to the motel.
Right.
So you might get a little bit more capacity here. So if you're coming this way, you might just be able to duck in there before you turn right. But I'd have to confirm it.
Okay, thank you.
Can't see what you're pointing at, sorry.
A couple of houses along from the intersection.
349.
49.
349. 330.
Same thing, different road.
Oh, okay. Right, I'm going to come to you in a second, John. I've just got a question first. Is there such a thing as, because you said about a zebra crossing, one of the downfalls of that is that cars have to wait for the pedestrian to cross the whole road instead of stopping in the middle. Is there such a thing where you can have a pedestrian refuge and then 2 zebra crossings and only one side has to stop at a time? Is that such a thing?
Yes and no. So one of the things we could do is a staggered zebra crossing. So you basically walk across one leg, then you'd have a bit of an island median, and then do that, and then that. One of the challenges with either a staggered zebra crossing or a mid-block signalised intersection is that infrastructure is a lot more permanent, so we'd need to consider a bit more of the wider context around what's happening. Like there's a store designation on Ferry Road, so staff would need to understand a little bit more of those semantics before we make that recommendation.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Futures, considering the pedestrians.
Yeah. John.
Yes, thank you. I was going to wait to the end of the presentation, but we're well underway with questions. So I've got about 6, if I may, Chair Emma. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. So just to clarify some context, this is the report states this is a major arterial. That's the designation of the road. Can you tell me what that means in terms of priorities, cars, pedestrians, cycles, how that stacks?
It really depends on, so when I'm thinking of a major arterial, I'm thinking of throughput in the movement. Traditionally, throughput and movement was just thought of as cars. Now we're trying to think of how we're moving people along that corridor. So we're giving equal priority to buses, cycles, and general vehicles. So, and that's really what the function of a major arterial is to move the goods and services along that road. On that, there was the designation on the section of Ferry Road relates to a potential 4-laning sometime in the future. And that would be to make it more consistent with the other major arterials around Christchurch.
Okay, thank you. So there's no type of vehicle or mode of transport that's excluded or are included in this particular arterial, and we're trying to kind of equalise it, right?
Absolutely, and that's consistent with what we're trying to do with our wider transport strategy as well, as more of a mode neutral approach, so we're giving people choices around how they travel.
Okay, thank you. Now, I want to go to, we're looking, focusing on an option 1 here, but there is an option 2 in the report. And option 2 states that, just going up to my annotation. My question actually is does option 2 reduce us to only 3 crossings instead of 4? I'm not, it states, when I get there, right at the top of the report, no, it's not at the top.
Page 36 talks about.
Sorry, is it? Thank you. I'll go to there, page 36. I'm miles away. There we go.
option two.
So I think there might have been a typo. So what it should
I can't bear with me, but it says, yeah, it sort of mentioned, option 2 mentions proximity to 3 side streets, not 4. And I wonder if that means only 3 crossings.
So it should be 2 zebras and 2 refuge crossings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. Page 34 on my agenda. Install zebra crossings near Matheson's Road and Olivia's Road, and the refuge island near Ryan Street with the speed humps. Thus, the speed hump would the Bordersley Street end still has a refuge with speed humps in option 2, correct?
Yep, so option 2 is, and this may have been how I wrote it, is speed humps will be on approaches to both the zebra crossings and your refuge crossings.
Ah, right.
So
okay. Yep.
And
okay.
And also Barber.
Yeah.
Get Barber out of that description. Right.
Barber is the
Yeah.
3.
It's not.
Yeah, that option 2 doesn't talk about Bordersley
Bordersley.
at 4.8.2.
So what would Bordersley zebra in option 2?
No, so you would have, so the zebra crossings were proposed at Matheson's, and I think it was Olivia's, where there's the high demand.
Yeah.
And then you have your refuge crossings further down when your demand tapers off.
Bordersley and Ryan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right. Okay. So option 2, it may be bold to say, still possibly has some legs here. And it's a bit early to write it off in my view. But I want to move on to the raised median. We were just talking about, there's been no submission from St. John's. Some local residents noted that emergency vehicles do use the flush median when they're in a rush to get down there. And that opportunity will disappear for the westward section of this section. I'd like your thoughts on that, please.
I suppose anything we do within the transport environment has a trade-off, and it's trying to strike a balance. You could say that yes, emergency services are potentially going to be delayed a little bit. It then is having more refuge crossings with speed humps also a benefit, because you're potentially reducing the amount of call-outs I've got to go to. Everything's got a trade-off, and it's fortunate, but it's just how you have to try and strike the balance.
Sure. And speaking of trade-offs, I think, speed humps do the job. They're technically, probably, I think you're right, it's the best solution, but they have a very low level of public acceptance in this particular context. And I just, want us to explore as much as possible during this conversation the inclusion of zebras as alternative, but signalise the gold standard, right? About 600,000 or 700,000 per crossing would be about 2.5 million all up. That's a big increment on the budget for this, isn't it? About $2 million extra above the project budget. And your senior advisors have advised that funding is not available. But I'm going to put this question to the table. Is there an alternative source where that extra, if I'm right in my calculations, 2 million or so could be available, or part thereof, to have at least 1 or 2 or 3 of these being signalised? Councillors.
Signalised cost. So that's the thick end of $1 million plus, right? And having 2 refuges as well. Now that's the safest option, to have those 2, but it is another $1 million. And if the money is not available in the area of the LTP where this project is sitting, this project has its allocated budget.
And also there may be other plans.
There's a bus priority, what's the correct name for that?
So the
PT Futures. So there's a PT Futures project that's currently scheduled, I think, early 30. And that could well go in conjunction with the road widening designation, but we can't prejudge that. We have to try and do what is economically, safely option now. Also an over-dimension route, so everything we do has to be able to be laid down. Big trucks can go through in the middle of the night. So Tom keeps talking about compromise and balance. We know there are significant projects coming in the future, but we want to try and do something at the moment that's quite viable. If we put in a signalised crossing now, it's on a 2-lane road. Lane road is long, tall, no pickets. We'd have to take them out and redo them. These are the kind of things that we've discussed and thought about. Is there any?
No, it's you, John.
Something just right. That was we would recommend a reconsultation with large change in scope, as well as the impact. And yeah, that would go for those crossings. Due to the
And if we were option 2, we wouldn't be.
This case scenario option 2 is we would qualification on that legal approach. It was a little bit of when we went out to the pedestrian, we also said the pedestrian crossing is to be safety with a balance. If possible, we would better on that. We don't have
Thank you very much.
like
is the, walking thing?
If it's a good crossing,
Yeah,
it should be around the 15 seconds.
15 seconds, okay.
Because generally those crossings are timed to think of how long it takes the average person to cross that road.
Cool, thank you.
Right, I think that's the questions. John, back again, Mark? Okay, so if there's no more questions, then Jake has offered to move the staff recommendation with I think, is that what Mark's writing up now?
Yeah, Ryan Street. Option to be considered.
Eastern side of the.
Just while Mark's writing it up, I've got one more quick question, sorry. What would your thoughts be on putting in the refuges and doing the changes to the intersections, but reviewing that in 6 months or a year's time and see if the speed humps are necessary? What would be your thoughts on that?
I have to have a view that says it's not safe.
Right.
Sorry, it's black and white.
Yeah.
I'm the one that goes before the coroner. I'm the one that, it's kind of like the Auckland Wolves and all those other things that have a health and safety connotation.
And sorry, 44, that will come back with the detailed design, is it?
Yeah, so I think we could, during the detailed design, we could give say we've looked at these two options. This is what our recommendation is, and that way we're still enabling the project to move forward, but then we're giving you that updated information.
I would like something about the keep clear included in the resolution as well, just and just including a keep clear possibility, something like that. Doesn't have to be.
So I can't read that from here, my apologies, but I think that's going to allow us to go ahead and construct everything else.
Yeah, it should do.
Let's read that for you. Just read it out.
Yeah. So it requests that staff investigate shifting the pedestrian refuge crossing point closest to Ryan Street to the eastern side of the intersection and report back to the board during the detailed design stage.
Keep clear, but
including
After intersection, I reckon.
I think
side of the intersection.
What would you think, Clary?
they report back for approval. Because the overarching thing is, if you accept the report, you're approving us to go forward and do a whole lot of stuff. Mark, I don't.
yeah, I think the default would be, but that's also that this report needs to come back during that stage.
This part of it.
this part of it.
During the process.
So only that part has to come back,
Yes.
but I think it has to say that.
Okay.
To give us, sorry, to give you the ability to pass the rest of the report, which gives us the authority to go in detailed design and construct.
So, and to bring this crossing back to the board.
For reconsideration, right?
For approval.
Before construction.
For construction. And to bring this crossing back to the board. To bring this crossing back to the board for
approval.
Before construction.
Yeah, and it can still say during the detailed design stage and before construction. Yep. I think that you got the gist of it, Mark.
And swap design and construction around. Yeah. Right. So we've just got to be clear that that is separate from.
I was thinking initially without that, it should be approving where it is currently, but it's very clear that the report needs to come back before it's implemented. So that recommendation was to change, then that would be to change what had already been approved. I just feel it complicates it.
So we need to pull Ryan Street out of the original resolution then?
Yeah, I think we can. I
recommendation.
just wondered if that was more complicated, if it was more simple and word to just say that the report comes back. So when the report comes back, it could recommend changing what you've approved today. Otherwise, just got to undo what you make sure you're not approving that intersection today, which I think either way is possible. I just thought might be simpler to approve it and then but say that the report needs to come back, it's implemented. So that at that stage it would change what it approved today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. The original wording was
If staff are happy in understanding that they need to bring the report back before anything's implemented, even though it's being approved today.
For that section.
Yeah, so it allows us to box on detailed design, but before we push go on construction, we come back and say, this is what we've found.
Before we come back for construction for Ryan Street, that we can still go ahead and do construction for everything else.
Before construction of this. Section.
Of this.
Sorry, is everybody clear what I'm trying to?
Could we say in noting that? No, I don't know. I can't see how we can do it without removing.
But this clause could override that general approval, which is what Mark was saying.
Yes.
You are approving it, but it's saying that you can't actually construct it until that report comes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if that report recommends changing it or whether we go with it or not, then the report needs to come before it's got the green light.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then is that stopping the rest of it being constructed?
No.
So, and bring this back to the approval. There.
No, it's already been approved. Approval is.
No, this bit hasn't.
For this bit,
This is another.
another approval.
Street.
Or after bring back to the board for approval of this qualifier.
We could go back and I could.
Just put back to the board for approval of this.
Sorry, I'm not a very good Bush lawyer.
Could we put noting after that, noting
And
noting approved design option that would override approval. Noting that the board is aware that if it was to approve this alternative location, would be would override the decision, the approval. It just makes it so clear.
why would you just take out that one?
Because it's really complicated because they do most of it. So many parkings, it's not just others, it's the. Yeah.
That John and Max with
find that moving that. No. Would we?
Oh, you mean through the.
Yeah, because maybe.
Action.
Welcome. This is gonna have human loaded.
Proposal that's been consulted on. In terms of generalities, I've actually got a statement from Fire and Emergency with their position on the use of traffic calming measures, which says Fire emergency supports the overall goal of safer roading networks. Traffic calming is one set of tools that can work towards this goal, with increased response times being an occasional trade-off. Goes on to say fire emergency leadership is proactive in working with local government and stakeholders to ensure emergency access and response requirements in the urban environment are top of mind. And then we have no submission from them criticising or otherwise the design in front of us. So there's a limit to how much weight I can give to submissions on behalf of an organisation that has chosen not to submit itself. Yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Simon. Anyone else? No, I'll just quickly want to add, I'm supportive of this project as a whole, but I am not supportive of the speed humps. I believe that putting the refuges in with the associated no stopping lines and improvements to those intersections will go a long way to improving pedestrian safety by themselves. A number of submitters talked about how just putting in those no stopping lines and preventing the cars parking where people cross will make a huge difference because it increases the visibility and makes them a whole lot safer crossing that road. Yeah, I considered asking Mark to change it so that we could separate that, but I'm just going to leave it though and vote against the whole thing. But I just want it noted that I do support the pedestrian refuges. It's just the speed humps that I'm not supportive of.
I'll sharp and just say, look, it is worth noting, one of my colleagues made reference to the fact that rejecting an assertion that the actions they take may possibly lead to death or serious injury. Well, actually, that's not true. The actions we do take can lead to death and serious injury if we're not careful and prudent in our decision making. And actually, in this case, someone did die, and that is actually one of the major catalysts for this work. So you really can't divorce yourself from that just because we haven't seen the consequences of those decisions. But look, I mean, I would love a signalised couple of crossings here, but the reality is it's just not practical in this case, and that's why we're having to take the step of putting in safety interventions down an arterial. Look, the AA, I mean, if the AA had their way, we'd probably have no safety interventions on any road ever. So look, I think this is a pretty sensible course of action.
Thanks, Jake. Right, we'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? No.
I'll record those.
Yep, so that is carried. Thank you very much, staff, for your work on that one. Item 9, bus stop upgrades on Riccarton Ave. Welcome along. This one I'm hoping should be pretty straightforward. Are there any questions? Sunita has moved it. We have a seconder. I'll second it.
John.
Oh, John, you can do this one. Sorry, I missed you. I was looking at the screen,
John.
Right, so Sunita has moved. John has seconded. Put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? That is carried. Thank you. Item 10, Browns Road. Oh, you are here. I thought we were zooming in for this one too. That's fine.
Wanted to come on.
Cool. Any questions on this one? No. Do we have a mover?
Oh, I'm sorry, actually.
Yes, go ahead, Ali.
Just one quick one. The build out that you see at the top of Browns, the corner of Browns and Innes, with the flats, has that been problematic in causing the problems that we're having now? Or has that been an issue in causing the problems we've got now? So that if that was not so built out, would we not have the problems with parking and bottlenecking?
No, it's to do with the other side. So I don't know if you're looking at the plan. It's to the right of that. Yeah. There's vehicles standing left and cars parking.
But if the road had more road on that side, would that create more room here and not make that an issue?
Is it? Yeah, good point. It would if the whole carriageway was widened. So yeah.
Well, but I mean, I don't mean making it wider. I mean just not having put in that silly build out there. Like if that hadn't been put in, would we not now be having to manage this?
No, you're right. Yeah, this problem that wouldn't have happened.
Just following on from that, I'm assuming the reason for the build out is to slow traffic turning left onto Innes. So they can't
partly
turn it
slow
up
them,
speed.
yeah, to slow them and also to let have a smaller distance for pedestrians to cross, so they're not exposed in the live traffic for too long.
So historically, was there an issue with speeding along here and going out into this road?
I'm not aware of the historic.
Can't even get out on here, it's so blocked.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's why I go to meetings now.
There's just a standard design to slow people when you're coming up to the intersection. So
All right, no more questions? Do we have a mover?
Sorry, I've got.
Yes, go ahead, Emma.
Have you spoken to anyone else?
we did consult, we sent letters to, there's like 3 units, so yeah, houses there, but they didn't respond.
Emma. Right, do we have a mover, seconder? Jake, Emma, second. Right, put that motion. All those in favour? Right, against? That is carried. Thank you. Item 11, Flockton Street wastewater upgrade, proposed tree removal. Hi, Peter. Sorry about the wait.
Oh, that's all right. I'm Peter McCombs, project manager for this job.
Hello.
It's pretty straightforward, really. Just look at our first picture in your report.
Yep.
Of relaying this line on the existing alignment. We pretty much have to remove all the trees in that little bulb at the intersection with Harrison and Flockton. And then the alternative of setting a new alignment out in the middle of the road, we only have to remove one of the trees marked with the cross. I understand that we need community board approval for tree removal.
Is that 3 in total then?
Beg your pardon?
3 in total removals?
No, with this option, there's 1 removed, 3 remain.
Approves the removal of the 3 trees closest to.
Oh, yes, sorry, that's right. So our internal designer favours this option because there's a slightly better flow, there's less friction because the wastewater only goes around one corner basically and getting down to the pump station in Harrison Street.
And are you suggesting there's another option for that?
Yes, that's right. So we have to come up with options, and this is the second option. This is actually one that the contractor prefers because it's easier to construct because they're out in the carriageway. They're not close to the edge of the road and they're not constrained by firstly power poles and the curb and channel. They don't have to damage, they won't damage that.
So can we clarify?
Right, well, at 4.8 in the report, it talks about the alternative option and then it talks there about the disadvantages as the cost of the additional manholes and connecting pipe at $35,000 and then the flow characteristics and is efficient.
No, I understand that, but what I'm hearing, what we heard, I thought originally was that you were suggesting that the 1 tree removal option is the better option.
Yes, it is, after speaking to
But
the
that's
contractor.
not what we've got in our agenda. Can we just clarify?
No, that's right. I've consulted with the contractor after this
Right, got
went
you.
for the report. Yeah,
So then we would say approves the removal of 1 tree. in
Yeah.
Number 3 in our resolution on the screen.
yes.
So we would rewrite that to.
Hold on, because so you're saying that the alternative option, the removal of 1 tree and taking that different path will not add $35,000 to it, like it says here.
Yes, that will add cost.
It will add
But
cost.
you've got to remember that it's quite an expensive project. It's about $3.8 million.
Yeah.
And so that cost is fairly minimal.
And so if we removed 3 trees, we would have to plant 6 anyway. And
Yes,
that would
that's
be
right.
Probably 30 grand.
Yeah, but God knows we don't go too, so, you know.
And then can you clarify, so the bit about the flow characteristics not being efficient, is that still stands?
Yeah, that stands, but it's an academic argument, really,
Right.
when you talk about flow. And in some ways it's negligible.
So you're
because-
saying that the designers have now come back to you since this report and said that one tree removed will be fine and it'll align with the alternative?
Yeah, that's right. They've said that that they can live with this alternative alignment.
So your recommendation is now that alternative alignment?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need to reword the
Yes.
resolution. One tree,
If we're willing to spend $35,000 to save 2 trees.
we're not spending it.
Yeah,
To
Emma, have
save
you
two
got,
trees.
Emma, have you got a question?
So, the maintenance and ongoing costs is a difference between the two options of $400. You know, why is the maintenance?
Well, that's academic as well, and it's really the fact that you maintain an additional manhole. Well, you might, if you inspect, say if you inspect these manholes once every 5 years.
So there's more manholes in the second option?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? It just says the cost of 2 additional manholes and connecting a pipe, so it's leave it at that. Why? Why is there 2 extra?
Well, because there's a bin.
Okay, so you have a manhole on every bed?
Yep.
Okay, so
Let's be informed about these.
So the resolution has been changed to removal of 1 tree indicated in the alternative option.
And that would.
And we've crossed out
I think we're better.
notes that the tree will be replaced with twice the number.
Well, certainly a noting provision, but it's
Yeah.
it's not the most cost efficient option.
Well, the tree that's marked across is actually the smallest tree in that area, which is quite handy. The other trees are probably as high as this ceiling.
Yeah, they're recently established, so to replace 6 of those, with 6 mature trees would probably be up near 30 grand anyway, so you're not really costing any by adopting the alternative.
I'm happy to move the alternative. I've got another question.
Yep, go ahead with the question, Emma.
So, in the area, so there's 4 trees now. Still growing?
Yep.
They're still growing. So at what point does actually one of those trees need, is one of those trees actually going to help the 3 that are there to grow bigger and better?
I don't know, I'm not one. I'm not a tree expert.
Sounds like a question for an arborist.
Because, yeah, well, I mean, the thing is like if there is 3 there, maybe, the 35,000 on the pipe work would be better spent on the trees, because actually that 4th tree is not adding any value to the 3 trees that are there.
We wouldn't spend it on the tree. You mean on new trees?
Yes.
Somewhere else?
Yes.
So you would rather chop some trees down?
I would rather, prune it just, I mean, like trees need to be taken out when they grow. Within your garden, and you plant 5 trees, they grow to a certain size, then you only need 4.
Oh, you're going down a really weird path.
So,
I don't think these trees need to come out.
I don't want to get into.
It's been moved to the second, just vote for it or not.
Right, were there any more questions? No? Okay, it's been moved by Ali and seconded by Pauline. Is there any debate? No. Simon?
Oh, just because I'm going to vote against it, just to explain why. I can't accept that the extra costs we're incurring of $35,000 to save the 2 trees would be spent anyway on the replanting of trees that would otherwise be removing. So, I just feel like we're pushing the boat a little bit out financially.
Well, I'll comment as well, because I agree. I don't know whether the trees require 4 there or 3 in the space. What's most appropriate? And yeah, $35,000.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, I'm also going to vote against it, as same reasons that Simon and Emma have given. We can save $35,000 there. I think we should be doing that. Anyone else? Pauline?
I'm going to support saving the trees. Tree. One tree, isn't it?
Two trees saved.
Yeah, if we want to, if we approve the original scheme and not the design, that's 3 trees will come out. That means, and they're quite tall, mature trees. And I would expect that to replace those, you either need to buy time, many years, or put in mature specimen trees of that size, but they look really large to me, and I dispute you disputing my guess at the number, because I think it would be around 30,000. Well, you've got to step outside.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, whether it's 10, 20, 30, and it's tree loss, and to get those trees to that size for our, climate change stuff, I think we need to retain all trees that we can. So I urge you to actually save these trees and go with what the staff are recommending for the alternative new design option. Sorry.
You've had your turn.
But I was wrong.
No, but you've had your turn.
It's
It's all right, you can change your vote. You can change your vote. Anyone else want to debate?
Good debate.
No.
It's you.
Okay, we will put
That was my debate.
that in motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye, yes, vote me too. Against?
No.
That is carried. Simon voting against.
I just record Simon against.
Yep.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Emma and I got convinced.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just looked at one tree. Process wise, I think a memo to the board before that.
There, that would have been helpful. So there was a change to the recommendation. Yep. Okay. Right. Item 14, area report for August.
I will be the area report.
Yep. Are there any questions for staff on the area report?
Oh, area report?
Yeah.
Right. To note that we received 31 applications for some of the matters, which is a small increase from previous years.
And the question on that, so I know it's closed on the 10th, but if anyone did want to, do we have the discretion to look at any late applications?
Possibly, I'm looking at my colleague.
They closed last year. Yeah, I know. I thought we moved to a system where it was open all year, actually.
No, we talked about it. One of the other boards moved to that and we talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, HHR, about open.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that again. Can we talk about that in the new training?
Yes.
Because, residents aren't necessarily clipped into our timeframes, and something like that, where the real purpose of it is to activate neighbourhoods and friends, shouldn't matter what time of the year, and it's not a great deal of money that someone might come in December and want to do something for $200. So, yeah. But anyway, at the moment, they could, as an exception, come along. Am I asking you? Sorry, what was the question? If someone came along next week and wanted to apply for it,
It should be fine at some discretion.
yeah, great, full discretion. Thank you.
Pauline, Ali.
Yeah, a couple of things. The Fortune Park information that we got, I don't see that anywhere in the board report.
If it was in time, it would have been listed in the memos.
Probably be in the next one.
Come since the agenda was finalised.
They got a memo though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's not in there, I mean, I don't understand why we're consulting on it, but that's something to talk about another time. I noted in the board report as well, we've got Shirley Community Reserve in there again, the community centre. I know you're all aware of the emails that have been going around. There is nothing in that update that tells us anything. So I would like to raise again there formally that we should have a briefing on what has been discussed and the minutes that have gone before the Shirley working group. We had the Momarangi playground come to us today. Before it was a detailed design. We've got a playground coming to us for our input on detailed design. We've got a multi-million-dollar community centre coming to us, completed to detailed design level with no movement to move. And I find that quite incredible with no visibility.
But this is different because it's got a subcommittee.
It doesn't matter. We are a board that should have oversight on it. So I'm requesting that we have
I'm saying that makes a difference between other projects that the staff did. The subgroup is doing all that work and they were instructed to do that and then bring it back.
I will agree to disagree, but the board should have visibility of a $3.2 million build. And we haven't had any oversight on that. And I've already raised concerns about the difference between the board resolution and the terms of reference that were picked up by the working group. It's very different to start a process to actually taking something to detailed design. So I believe that the working group's been working under a very different directive, if you like, than the resolution that the board put forward. So if we could have a briefing so we can have an understanding of where it's at, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else? No. And one thing from Victoria, let me just find her email. She just wanted to note that there was a public information session yesterday at Noamarsh Retirement Village about the Grasmere development. There were about 100 people that attended. Staff have captured a number of follow-up questions about the housing development and infrastructure works, and will be considering ways to better communicate with the local community on progress and issues. So that's positive.
Right, that's
good. Anything else? No. Okay. On that, we will close the meeting with our karakia. Oh, sorry, mover and seconder. Pauline and seconder. Simon, put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried.
agreed.
Sorry, I've typically gone the wrong date, but I'm here to just share my experience overseas.
Oh,
no.
Was it?
Do it now.
Yes, absolutely. Come on up. Sorry, apologies. We weren't expecting anybody else for that today.
Yeah, I just got an email to come along, but I might have. No,
You've been
I
here
can't
the whole
do.
time.
Yeah.
But I'm good.
Apologies. No.
It's definitely interesting. I've never sat in a board meeting before, so yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Elisa Barton.
Elisa, okay. Cool, go ahead.
It was just for I got some funding to go to the World University Games in Germany. And yeah, I just wanted to firstly wholeheartedly thank you for giving me this opportunity and making this possible. I'm honoured and grateful to get the opportunity to represent New Zealand, and it was a very invaluable experience competing alongside some of the best gymnasts in the world. That was pretty exciting, and this was my first multi-sport event, and it was such an amazing experience. It was like a mini Olympics for university age people, and I was able to produce some personal best scores on balance beam, which qualified me for the for my first beam final, where I finished in 6th. And this isn't just exciting for me, but also for gymnastics in New Zealand. So that was pretty cool. And again, I'm just incredibly grateful for your investment and support in my journey. And not only did your support help me get to Germany, but helped me achieve one of my proudest sporting moments.
Well done. What school?
I'm at the University of Canterbury now, but I went to Christchurch Girls' High.
So what are your goals? Are you aiming for something higher?
So next I have World Championships in October, and then hopefully from there we'll get some results for Commonwealth Games selection.
So is that open or is that age group World Champions?
World Championships is from senior international, so 16.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And where are they?
World Championships will be in Jakarta, Indonesia.
They might be back for some.
Possibly next year. Yeah.
Oh, Simon?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your patience in taking our meeting. Do you have specialities or preferred like apparatus or events within?
Yeah, so for artistic, we kind of do all of them. So that's like the vault bars, beam and floor. But beam is definitely my best
apparatus. But yeah, and we usually, for like a multi-sport event, we do all the apparatuses, but to say like a World Cup, we'll just do 2 or 3 maybe.
Congratulations on your achievements. Thank you for
very much.
coming along, and yeah, thanks for your patience and apologies.
Good to see you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll finish with our karakia. Una here, ki te uru tapu nui, kia wātia, kia mama, te ngāko, te tinana, te wairoa i te ara takata, koia rā e rongo, whakaia ake ki runga, kia tina, huie, tai ki e.